celebrating today Pentecost. It's like most of the time we don't know the feast of Jews and how all those feasts, not all, like I think 4 or 5 of them, 4 for sure, of them is already completed in Jesus, and the rest of them, when he's going to come back on his second coming, is going to be fulfilled. So all those Jewish feasts were pointing towards Messiah. So that's a really powerful and beautiful thing that we are celebrating God's plan from Israel to all the nations. So the Pentecost is God's plan from the nation of Israel to all the nations. So we're gonna be, before I share with you, it's gonna be a little bit in detail today because we have to understand what is the meaning of Pentecost and how it is very important for the church. But before that, we do that, I wanted to share a testimony that how God is shaping up people's life through His Word. I met yesterday a young man. He was like maybe 26 or 25-year-old. He is like AI grad from one of the university in New York, in Pakistani background. So his parents actually attend our church in Valley Stream. And yesterday I met him. He never came to our church, but he shared with me that my parents are telling me that you are teaching in a very detail. And he said, we have a very hard time in the universities because in most of the American university, some of the Islamic organizations are working which are trying to introduce Islam to every student. And he said most of the time we can't really give them any answer for their questions. And he said it's not just us, even the people who grew up here. So it's like a supporting Muslim students, providing religious services. I mean, that's the claim. But all of us knows that these organizations like Islamic Society, Islamic Student Association, Muslim Student Union, and Muslim Student Association is working in every campus with the very heavy funds. So they are manipulating with students, and we are not ready actually. And I heard the same thing last year here. Somebody came to me and he said the same thing. So a lot of questions which need to be addressed. And same, this is one of the biggest question most of us, we should know very clearly. And I'm going to be explaining it by the power of Holy Spirit, because a human can't do anything without Holy Spirit. And this is the Holy Spirit who actually speak through his like pastors, teachers, and apostles, or servants, the better word. And I wanted to share one thing more with you guys. Usually when I teach here, after that, I literally don't know because I don't remember. Even when I open my fridge, I don't know what I have to get it out of it. I'm just giving you this testimony that this is 100% Holy Spirit. My memory is very fragile, but this is totally Holy Spirit, which is ministering to all of us. Today we will learn God's plan for Israel to the nation. We know it as a feast, which is Pentecost. It's a Greek name of it, but Jewish call it Shavuot. Shiva is a word for week, like hafta, but Shavuot is a plural for that because that particular feast comes after 49 weeks plus a day. So that's why in Greek it is Pentecost, which means literally 50th day. So after the Passover day, they count 50 days to celebrate that feast, which is also called the Feast of Weeks. But in Hebrew Bible, it called Shavuot. This is one of the major harvest feast commanded by God in Old Testament, and it is agricultural. It celebrates the end of the grain harvest. Spiritually, Jewish tradition celebrated as the day gave the Torah. So this is a very important day because on that particular day, Torah was given. And Moses and Israelites at the Mount Sinai. And we can see that how this festival is fulfilled. We're going to see today fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And a little bit I wanted to explain it, how they count down. They have like a 3.5 or 6 liter, like a jar. So they take barley, they fill up the jar. This is the first day, second day, and up to 58 times they count the days in that way. And then whatever is there, they give it to the Lord. So Bible has so many verses about it. Teresa, go next. And this is in a ritual law. So Jesus, like in Matthew 5:17, Jesus said that unless the law and the prophets were not completed. So Jesus actually completed a major part of law in him. So right now, like I think we spoke before, we talked about it, like the law is consist of civil law, like every country have a civil law, and that particular civil law was just for the nation of Israel. Then we have a ritual law where we can see how Jewish have to worship, how they have to sacrifice. So this is all the ritual law. Then there is another law which is a moral law, which is still we have to abide by that. So Jesus actually is this is one of the major things we have to learn today, that he is actually fulfilling that part of the law. And that part of the law is very, very important. So in Leviticus 23, 15, 16 says, for the day after the Shabbat, the day you brought the heap of the wave offering. I think Pastor Gabriel one day he teach about it, like wave offering. And then count on 7 full weeks. He said count on 7 full weeks, count of 50th days up to the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of the new grain to the Lord. So that was the way you measure it, and then you offer to the Lord. So this was called, in Greek it's called Pentecost. They call it the Feast of Weeks. Urdu Bible also call it Hafton ki Eid. But the Jewish Bible, which is the Hebrew Bible, that call it Shavuot. It's like a plural of 1 week. Like week is Shavuot, and Shavuot is more than one. And then there's this reference is really teaching us how they count it. And there is in the Old Testament, usually they talk about it unleavened bread, that you don't put any leaven in it. But this one has a different command, and that command is unlike the other biblical feast where only unleavened bread, which is also called matzah, was permitted. Shavuot required a unique offering. And what is that offering? 2 loaves of baked bread made with yeast or leaven, waved by the priest before the Lord as first fruit of the wheat harvest. And then, biblical reference for that is, Teresa, go next. Yeah, that's right here, you're good. It says, from whenever you live, bring 2 loaves made up of 2/10 of an alpha of the finest flour baked with yeast as a wave offering of the first fruit of the Lord. So this is like, I'm just giving you a background how this was celebrated. And this was like celebrated very uniquely. Actually, they do this ritual and the whole night they pray. Whole night. And whole night the Jewish actually also read the book of Ruth. So this is the way they celebrate that. And we're going to be connected with the New Testament like very soon. So there was also like they gathered, all of them they gathered together. And that was like one of the main part of the feast. Even when they were in diaspora, like when the Jewish was living like in maybe some part of the Iran, Iraq, Egypt, they all come together on that particular day. So it's a corporate gathering. Shabbat is commanded as a corporate assembly. No regular everyday work is permitted. So nobody worked on that day. And it was required all Jew men to travel to the tabernacle. Tabernacle was when it was a tent. And then afterwards the temple in Jerusalem, right? Which was first made by the King Solomon. And then the Romans, they make it, which is called the second temple. So in Leviticus 23:21 says, on that same day, you are to proclaim the holy assembly and do not work regularly. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generation to come wherever you live. So wherever you live mean if somebody cannot go to Jerusalem, they have to still celebrate that. And in Jerusalem, they celebrated for 1 day. But if you can't go there, you have to celebrate for 2 days, that particular day. So this is the little bit background of that. And we see that like what happened on the day of Pentecost. Actually, all those people were there. All the Jewish. It's not just Jewish. Sometimes other people who were not Jewish also come to temple to see those kind of festivals. And the fulfillment in the New Testament is the how and why the shofar directly to the New Testament text. So we will see that today. Just God. First we see that the God gave the written law on the stone's tablet at Mount Sinai during the first Shavuot. So the first Shavuot, when the first Shavuot got ordinance, so on that day, God, actually Moses, he bring 2 tablets for the assembly. He poured out his Holy Spirit on the human hearts on the Pentecost or Shavuot after Jesus. So when Jesus went to heaven, right after after the Passover, right after 50th day, that particular day was the Pentecost or Shavuot when the Holy Spirit came. So I'm going to be sharing with you the comparison, how it is like the same, whatever happened in Mount Sinai and whatever happened in Jerusalem. So Jesus fulfilled the Passover. Can you go next, please? So everybody, we knew that we recently celebrated Easter, which is also called the Passover. So what happened on Passover? Passover was a feast where what happened? They give a lamb, and that lamb was sacrificed. So this is very important, we have to understand. So Passover, there was sacrificial that feast, and we know that Jesus was our sacrifice. He was our Passover. So when the Christ died, he was our Passover, and he resurrected, which is he is showing his victory over death. And then Pentecost marks the coming of the Holy Spirit. So how we can see that? So first of all, on Easter Day, we see that Jesus Christ was resurrected, but the Passover was like 3 days before that. And then we see that the Pentecost came right 50th day after the Passover. So the Paul is saying in 1 Corinthians 5:7, go next. You're right. So Paul is saying in 1 Corinthians, cleans out the old leaven that you may be a new lump, as you really are unleavened. For Christ, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed. So look at this. What happened? That particular feast was like the ritual was you have to make 2 doughs of leavened bread. So what is the meaning of leaven? Impurity. Or sometime now we call it, we have like a sin in our lives. This is a leaven. Sometime if we have a corrupted doctrines, this is a leaven. So Paul is saying what Jesus Christ did it, he actually purified it. It's not an old leaven, but it is a new lump, which is not really a unleavened. So the Christ over Passover has been sacrificed. So now he's saying that the Passover is already fulfilled, the feast of Passover is already filled, and then we see after 3 days when Jesus was resurrected and he was the first fruit from the dead. And if he is the first fruit, one day we will be resurrected also. And it was not just that. If you study the gospel, it says, I think in the Matthew or Mark, not just Jesus was resurrected, many other saints were resurrected at that day too. So Jesus was the first fruit. And now I'm going to be comparing with like how that Mount Sinai and the Pentecost was like almost identical. Can you go please next? So it's in Exodus 19:18 it says, so that I already think told. Go next. Yeah. So Exodus 19:18 says, now Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke because the Lord has descended on it in fire. The smoke of it went up like the smoke of kiln furnace, like it's like very heavy kind of like heat there. And the whole mountain was tremble greatly. So then we see that another reference of Exodus 18:20 says, now when all the people saw the thunder and the flashes and the lightning and the sounds and the trumps and the mount smoking, and the people were afraid and trembled, and they stood far off and said to Moses, you speak to us and we will listen, but do not let God speak to us, lest we die. So you can see that particular moment when Jesus was not crucified, they cannot handle God. They cannot listen to his voice even. But we will see what happened on Pentecost, how it was totally changed. It says, don't fear, for God has come to test you. So always remember, whenever the fire comes, fire always comes for testing. So God, he says, God has come to test you, that the fear of him may be before you, that you may not sin. And now I'm going to be sharing with you another how this was established like a covenant. Go next, Teresa. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, and you shall be my treasured possession among all the people, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and the holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the people of Israel. So God is telling Moses that they have to be listening to the voice of God, and they have to obey the covenant. That was the establishment of the covenant. So we see like how this fulfillment happened. Teresa, go next. Yeah. So over here you can see how the Torah was given. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and wait here, that I will give you the tablets of stone, the law and the commandments which I written for your instruction." Go next. All right, we already did that. Go next. So now we can compare that, what happened on day of Pentecost and what happened on Mount Sinai. So the fire on the mountain, and we see that in Acts 2, the tongues of fire. The God descending and the Holy Spirit descending is the same thing. Torah was given, and now we have the Holy Spirit living inside us, so we have the law of God inside us. And then the nation of Israel was formed. Unless they don't have the covenant of God, they don't have the law, they can't be a nation. So the Israel as a nation was formed on that day, and the church was formed on the day of Pentecost. And then we can see that establishment of the old covenant. And now we can see that the establishment of the new covenant, which is we just have celebrated with the communion. So go next. So how this is linked with the birth of the church. You can see that it's like the images, it's like same thing, where we can see that the law was given, and now we have the new covenant, we have the law of God inside us.